Hello everyone, welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast, and we're actually joined by former Manly and Warrington Wolves champion Michael Monaghan. Thanks for joining us today, mate.
No worries, mate.
You debuted for the Raiders in 2001. You are a Queanbeyan/Canberra local, as in grown up from there. Yep. What was it like to get your debut in the big leagues?
It was huge. It was my dad was, well, the whole family really were massive footy fans, but my old man he played footy growing up as a kid in Lithgow and moved to Canberra, and then I was a Raiders tragic growing up. Through the '89 grand final in the '90s. It was, some of the greatest teams.
That was the best era.
It was, mate. And I remember as a kid after they won in '89, going out and getting all the signatures.
Yep.
And always wanted to. That was my thing from a young age. Was I wanted to grow up, play for the Raiders, and and got that opportunity, and played a couple of years there. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have stayed my whole career there, but things happened in footy, and then I having to move on and landed at Manly. But to play for the Raiders and where the green jumper was
would have been really special, like a childhood dream, really.
Mate, it was. As I said, I was a tragic. I'm embarrassing as a kid.
Had all the cards, had all the jerseys,
all the cards,
everything.
Cried when they lost, celebrated when they won. I remember after '87 when Manly beat them in the grand final, I remember sitting in my garage crying, and the old man having to come and I think I was 7 at the time. The old man having to come and console me. So to play for the Raiders was a dream come true, and then to play there with my brother as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be able to play with your brother at the Raiders, what was that like?
Yeah, it was big. Like I said,
was Joel also a Raiders tragic?
Yeah, not as big.
Okay,
not as big.
But he was still a Raiders
fan.
A
little bit more in touch with his emotions then, and didn't cry every time they lost. But to both play, to support him growing up, and we were in the backyard every day. The old man coached both of us at certain stages. So I had a sister that worked in rugby league as well. So it was right through the family. Everyone was mad for the game, and the Raiders especially.
No, that's awesome. Speaking of, as you just mentioned, you did go over to Manly for a bit. What was it like, you could say, culture change, the difference, Northern Beaches, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it was...
Because they'd just come back into the comp, hadn't they?
They had gone from the Northern Eagles back to Manly. And, to be honest, I didn't have any interest in really going there. I'd sort of got to a point at Canberra where I thought it was time to move on. I wasn't getting the opportunities. Probably, myself and probably other players around the squad thought I should be getting in first grade, and had a conversation with the coach then about.
So that vibe was like you should be getting more starts than you were.
Yeah, the coach at the time, he actually said to me, "You deserve to be playing," but they'd signed at the time. I think it was Brad Drew. Come in, and I'd been in first grade, and then I think I broke my jaw at the Tigers, and came back and was playing really well in reserve grade, and just couldn't get a start in first grade, and sort of went and said to him, what's the go? I'm playing really well. First grade struggling, and that was what he said. He said, look, you probably deserve to be playing, but we signed this guy and we're going to stick with him. So we sort of said, well, let's probably best to move on. So,
but it was like a mutual. It wasn't. You didn't have bad feelings.
No, none of that at all. It was, and at the time I went up and I had a meeting with Parramatta and Brian Smith, and was sold on going. And
their facilities would have been amazing at the time.
Yeah, and he, had sat down in a room with him, and he spoke really good about the game and what he could do for the way I played and all that type of thing, and walked out of there and rang my manager and said, yep, get the deal done. And he sort of rang me back half an hour and said,
Manly tabled
No, they said Manly have just said if you're interested in going for a chat. And I said, well, not
Two
really.
clubs now.
Yeah, not really. I think I'm good with Parramatta. And but at the time my sister lived on the Northern Beaches.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought, I may as well go up and see her, and I'll go have a meeting anyway. So that was.
You went there to see your sister,
basically
really?
I'll go up, have a weekend with my sister, and and I'll have the meeting and see what happens. But I was pretty well sold on Parramatta, and got up there and met with Des, and showed me around the club, and just don't know what it was. I just got a good vibe about it, and obviously having my sister there as well, I thought would probably be a bonus as well. So
you got some family nearby.
Yeah, rung him back and said, let's scratch that. We'll go with Manly.
So really, you could say the deciding factor for Manly was family.
It probably was in the end. Yeah, it was. And
they had great facilities. Don't get me wrong.
As well as you come in the car across the Spit Bridge, and you see how nice it is there. And at the time, I don't think she'd been living down in Wollongong, and we hadn't been up to Manly that often. I'd only been there once or twice, so I didn't really get a feel for how good the place was. And I spent that whole week there and sort of went, club's great, Des is great.
The area's all right.
Pretty great place to live, so ended up signing there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that's more or less where, I mean, as we said, you did get your start at the Raiders, but your career sort of flourished at Manly a bit. You had a lot of game time. You then went over to the Warrington Wolves in the UK. You won 3 Challenge Cups, which anyone who's listening to this episode, the Challenge Cup is held in almost more higher regard than a grand final win over in England. What was it like to be part of that team in general, and also to get the Challenge Cup wins at Wembley?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'd sort of had come off the back of the grand final in 07 where we'd lost to Melbourne, and we'd sort of been, yeah, well, it never happened. So
True. Well, so to tangent off real quick, but are you kicking yourself that you didn't stay one more year for the 08?
No, and I actually knew this question had come, and it was...
Sorry.
I've been asked by that many Manly fans.
I can imagine, yeah.
And even I've had Manly fans pull me up, and they were disappointed for me that I wasn't there. Cause,
very unfortunate, yeah.
I was sort of part of that build-up, and we'd lost in 07. And to be honest, I thought I would be. I thought I'd be disappointed, but I never really have been. And in fact, I come back, our season finished over in England, and I came to the grand final, and I actually ended up on the Mad Monday with all the Manly boys.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then I think we went to Vegas after. So it wasn't a case of... I was actually really happy to see the boys win, and guys like Michael Robertson and Mark Bryan, who were there, I'd actually had a part, and I'd played with them at the Raiders, both down in Canberra, and was sort of part of getting them to Manly. So, mate, there wasn't one bit of jealousy.
You were part of the foundation of what was to come.
I certainly don't feel like I was part of winning it, but I certainly felt like I was part of getting them to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
I was there with Stewarts and all those boys and Watmo and those guys that really developed into from good players to
great players,
world class players.
Yeah.
So, mate, like I said, I was at the game cheering the boys on, and ended up having a couple of days on the beers with them after. So
that's awesome. And so tangenting back into Warrington and the Challenge Cups, what was it like, first of all, going over to the UK in general, because it's a whole other ball game, excuse the pun, and in general, playing the game and winning the Challenge Cups?
Yeah, it is different over there, and that's part of the thing. Like, would have been great to have been back here and played in 08. Whether we would have won, whether I was here or not, who knows? You don't know how things end up, but. To go over there, and it's a different kind of footy, it's a different kind of lifestyle, and the fans over there are
they're one-eyed.
and it's so much different to Australia. It's I played in the grand final here in 07, where there was, I think, 90-odd thousand. But the year when we won our first Challenge Cup,
the 09,
we played a semi-final against our local rivals, Wigan, and it was at Widnes. They played a neutral ground. But there was 12,000, and it sounded more. The atmosphere in that game was the best I've ever played at.
Wow!
And I played 3 Challenge Cup finals at Wembley, 2 grand finals at Old Trafford, and a grand final in the Olympic Stadium, and the atmosphere
at the semi-final.
Because I think Warrington hadn't been to a final in 35 years, so that was the game to get us there. It was against our local rivals, and they were favourites, and there was such a build-up to that game, and then I remember just at the end of that game, it was chaos. Fans, like I said, fans over there.
They got flares and everything over there.
Yeah, it's different. Australia, people go and watch the game and they appreciate the game, but over there, for that game, for 80 minutes, both teams' fans were singing.
We're doing chanting and all that.
And
what's the best sledge that you remember hearing of your time over in England? It can be a chant, it can be a sledge, whatever.
To be fair, it was when my brother had come over. He'd obviously come over in less than great circumstances, and the fans always had some pretty good ones with him. The old chants and barking and all that type of thing. But the fans over there, it really is. It's a different atmosphere, and it brings something special to the game. And, they are really passionate. I was saying, my first year at Warrington, we'd sort of come over and we turned up, and they had a club car for me, which is, for some reason, they gave me a yellow convertible. I don't know why in the north of England you get a yellow convertible. But had this yellow convertible with my name down the side of it. For the first half of the year, we were on fire. We were winning games left, right, and centre, and I think at the time I was halfway through the season. I was the favourite for the Man of Steel over there.
Yeah, which is equivalent to like Dally M.
And we used to have, where I lived, there was about 3 pubs right opposite my apartment.
Yep.
And first half of the year, after a game, I'd drive past these pubs and all the fans would be in there, and they'd all stand and clap me and cheer me as I got back home.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Game, yeah. And then the second half of the year, my old man had come over.
Okay.
They'd come for the back end of the year just to see me. And back end of the year, we just struggled. The team really fell apart, and barely won a game the back end of the year. And we played,
you didn't get the claps?
We played one night, and we'd lost by 30, I think it was. And my old man had come to the game in the car with me, and as we were driving home, drove past the 3 pubs, and I was getting fingers and booze and people telling me to
do things.
Yeah, to get back to Australia. And I remember I got home, and I'd take my footy pretty serious.
1 second.
Yeah, and I take my footy pretty serious, so I was pretty downbeat about it. And I remember I got up the next morning and was getting ready to go to a recovery session. And my mum and dad had been staying with me in the apartment, and said to the old girl, I said, "Where's Dad?" She said, "Oh, I don't know, he went outside about half an hour ago." What's he going? I walked out, got my bag ready, and get down to my car. My old man was on his hands and knees peeling the name off my car, Michael Monaghan, Warrington Wolves, off the side of my car. Because he'd been in the car obviously and seen the abuse I was copping. So, but it, in one regard, it tells you how passionate they are. Yeah, sometimes it did spill over,
which would also kind of help you get up for games and stuff.
It did, and exactly when you're winning it, it makes it even better. It's how passionate the fans are, and we had probably a year and a half where we were really up and down.
Dominated.
And part of it is the passion is just because they're so desperate to have a winning team now, and I hadn't had it in so long.
I mean, I'm a Leeds fan, so I'm used to being a winner for them with the fans. So
exactly. So, and then
but I know what it's like when there's losses. It's
that's it. And I guess, but so by the same token, when you're winning, they're really good to you, and they're great to you. And, And we had some. We had Matt King who'd come from Melbourne, yourself, Chris Hicks, and we when we started playing really good footy and started winning trophies and all that, it was the atmosphere around the town was unbelievable, and it was a real pleasure to play there and live there.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, just going through, trying to figure out which one I want to go with. So let's go to some fun sort of questions, not necessarily career-based. During the 10-week break for COVID, what was your Netflix binge or show that you just, really got into?
I'll be honest, we got a 3-year-old who, if it's not Peppa Pig on telly, it's Paw Patrol.
Okay, yeah. Or PJ Masks, stuff like that.
If we're lucky, we get an hour an evening, and then I'm dictated by the missus. It's normally Love Island, or at the moment
Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight, which I actually refused on that one.
I would too.
But yeah, we've got a few. What else have we got into? We watched one last night actually. She's into her true crime dramas last night, so we're watching one from America. I think something about murder. But but I think because we lived in England, we try and find a lot of the UK sort of crime.
I love that stuff, like Midsummer Murders and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they've got quite a few ones coming out. There's some little. What they do is, I struggle with like a series that goes 15, 16, 17 episodes. I'm a 4-part type of guy.
Yeah, like mini-series type thing.
Yeah, and that's what they do really well in the UK.
Oh, they do.
There's a couple with David Tennant and a few of those guys that the missus gets into, and my time in England, that's kind of moulded me into liking some of those ones.
Yeah, no, that's fair. How do you like your steak cooked?
Medium.
Medium rare or medium well? What is medium? Okay.
Yeah, well, I lived in France for a bit, 3 years, so...
I've been told that the steak's not good over there in the sense of... I interviewed, I think it was... James Maloney.
Yeah.
Actually, and because he's currently at Catalans.
Yeah.
And he said, with the steak-wise... like medium rare here, you got to have it done medium well, sort of thing.
Oh, you don't get a choice over there.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, because I was living. Me and my wife got married in Oz after I retired in 13, and then just work circumstances. The best job in coaching that was available after my retirement was in France.
Yeah, it was Catalans. Yep.
Yeah, and she just got a promotion at work in England. So we literally got married. I flew to France. She flew to England, and for the next 3 years, we sort of saw each other every second weekend.
Oh, shit.
And so when she'd come over, we'd go out to dinner, and she likes her steak well done. And go to a restaurant. And
so the wrong way she likes
yeah,
it.
so you'd ask for steak well done. They'd bring it out, and she'd cut in and send it back. They'd send it back. She'd send it back, and then eventually the chef would win, and she'd end up having to eat a medium rare steak. So
fair enough.
Yeah,
so did she get used to eating medium rare?
No, she's still not used to it. But in France, you didn't have a choice. It was they just keep sending it back until you ate it. So
that's fair. Well, I mean, a land of true good cuisine.
Well, it was the owner of Catalan. He actually he owns abattoirs. So
okay.
He services all the meat throughout.
Perpignan and stuff?
So Perpignan, southern France, yeah. So we had a pretty good selection of it.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, they're big into their fat and their cream and their butter. And
yeah, they are.
Didn't really gel with the way I like to eat over there. I've never been big on fat and but there was a few we had a couple of Kiwi boys over there that used to get.
They would have loved it.
Oh,
they would have loved it.
A couple
so
of
good.
Islanders over there, they couldn't get enough. So.
Nah, that's fair. If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
Going invisibility.
Yeah, be a fly on the wall sort of thing.
Oh no, just so my little fella doesn't know I'm around, because when I'm around, all he wants to do is battle.
Yeah, battle, fight.
Superhero battles. So that's pretty much, now that I'm off, we're out of the bubble and I'm off work. That's pretty much what I do for 10 hours a day is wrestling. Hence why I've got this sore neck at the moment. Is wrestling and fighting, and so. The moment I walk in the door, that's all he says is, "Dad, let's battle, let's battle." So a bit of invisibility, we wouldn't go astray.
Nah, that's fair. What's your current beer of choice?
I don't want a super dry.
Okay.
Yeah.
As in Arn or Tui's or?
We got into the low carb beers, and sort of got around to them, not too bad, but can't go wrong with the Prony as well.
Yeah, no, they're good.
And over there,
I was going to say, what was your beer of choice over there?
Over there, it was. I was going to say anything cheap, but everything's cheap over there.
Yeah.
Foster's is pretty big. Most of the Aussies, got on the Foster's.
That's so interesting because no one drinks Foster's here.
Well, that's what exactly. They all call it an Aussie beer over there, but no one drinks it. No. So,
maybe it's because it tastes the closest to an Aussie beer over there.
Yeah, and that's what every time you go out, because obviously when we were playing at Warrington, you'd go out after a game, you had a win, and people would come and want to buy you a beer, and they'd all come over with the Foster's and go, "Oh, you're an Aussie, you have a Foster's." I never had a Foster's when I was in Australia, so we end up getting a decent taste for it over there. So
no, that's fair. Let's go with we've done that. So a question from one of our sponsors, SkyeSpark Electrical. What advice would you give your younger, like late teens self to go through life in the NRL and the Super League?
It's probably not advice I'd give myself, because I think I did it, but I think it's just dedication to
the craft, to the job,
which is not just the skill, the mental side, the fitness, and all that. And that's you have a look at even someone like LeBron James now in the NBA. Like it's unprecedented what he's doing in terms of his ability at his age
and the longevity and all that.
And a lot of that comes down to how he takes care of himself, the dedication he puts into training his body after training.
He loves what he does and does what he loves.
It is, and I played. I think it was 13 years.
Yeah,
and
it's a long career compared to nowadays.
I probably could have played another
1 or 2
2 or 3 years, but I'd sort of had a few concussions at the end of my career, and just thought I'd rather go one too early than one too late.
Yeah, so exactly.
In terms of how I was physically, I was pretty good at the end of my career, and a lot of that was I looked after myself. I enjoyed a good time.
We're still looking fit these days,
Yeah, and that's part, I guess, the lifestyle you live as a footy player. It's hard to let go of once you retire, and but that was it was probably something the old man drilled into me as a kid, and because he knew I wanted to be a professional footy star, and same with my brother, and it's about your dedication. It doesn't mean you have to be on 24/7, but just your ability to look after yourself, to do the right things. And like I said, it doesn't mean you don't go for a beer, and plenty of good nights out.
Do it in moderation.
Do it in moderation, and it was always finding the right times. I don't think apart from an end of season drink, I don't think I very rarely in my career went out after a loss.
Yeah, I don't think you would.
It was, and that was probably my motivation through my career, wasn't winning. It's when I look back now and I won 3 Challenge Cups and played in 3 grand finals, I don't really think about what I won. A lot of it is remembering the games I lost and the disappointing games.
And thinking about what you could have done different, maybe.
It is, and that's honestly what fueled me as a player. I was more.
Well, you were like, I don't want to feel this again, sort of thing.
Games like grand finals, I never got nervous for Challenge Cup finals, because
You knew
win or loss, you kind of.
You're like, right, I've made it to the final.
Yeah, it was games you were expected to win, like, over here maybe,
like Melbourne. Example, if you were to play for Melbourne against the Titans and the Titans win, 100%. You'd be like, you're expected to win.
And they were the games, and not every player is made up like that. For some people, they're just focused on winning, and I was for some reason, it was all about losing, and my whole focus was I didn't want to lose. It was more disappointment and all those things, and that's what motivated.
Which is fair enough.
It's for different people. Where my brother's complete opposite.
Oh, he's like he wants to feel winning.
Well, if you lost, it was water off a duck's back. He was disappointed, and
But he just went on with his next job
was,
sort of thing.
I'll go. I want to make sure I try and win the next game.
Whereas all you did was dwell on the previous week.
I dwelled on the previous, and I think that worked for me.
Yeah.
But it certainly wouldn't work for some people. And for other people, all they think about is winning, and that can have a detriment as well. So, it's just for different people how they're motivated. And for me, it was about losing. That I'll always, like I said, I always remember games that didn't play well. And,
or didn't play well, Because you can also have games that you win, but you don't have a good individual game.
And that was, like I said...
that would have been worse, if anything.
My brother used to be like, when we were living together, he was, we'd win and I'd play well, play poorly, and,
You'd be like, yeah, we got the win,
I was terrible all week. I just couldn't get over it, and he just couldn't understand. He was like, we won, but... I was.
But you're like, but I didn't get my 1%, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just that I just didn't deal well with losing.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, for some, like I said, some people
don't.
Opposite, so but that was what motivated me through my career was, I hated the thought of losing, and not so much about winning and looking forward to the excitement of winning. It was just about I didn't want to lose.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And speaking of your brother, you started more or less your careers together at Canberra.
Yep.
And then you also linked back up, as we mentioned earlier, in Warrington. What was it like having your brother come over and play with you again, top class footy?
It was really good, and we'd sort of at Warrington. We had myself, Matt King, Chris Hicks, and Hicksy had come from Manly with me after 07, and we had sort of gone to Warrington at the same time, and we'd sort of Matt King had come over, and King was playing for Australia.
He played in the 07, didn't he?
Played in the 07, we had some issues after that. He little cheap shotted me a little bit during the game, and
he did a bit. I watched it back recently.
Yeah, so for the first probably month when we were over there,
a bit salty with each other.
I was salty with him. I'm not even sure he realised he did it. He can get he's a little bit of a stirrer during games, Kingy. But so I remember talking to Hicksy when we flew over. I sort of said, I don't like that Matt King. I'm not sure about him after the grand final.
Yep.
Anyway, we lived in the same apartment block, and about a month in, we were we were pretty tight by then, and what Hicksy said to him, did Monas tell you he's not happy with you? So he didn't realise he had done it, to be honest. And, we got to that. So we got over it pretty quick, and then we ended up having 4 great years over there.
100%. Like in those 4 years, you won 3 Challenge Cups, more or less, across 5 years.
Played a couple of grand finals. And like I said, then we had Hicksy, who was one of my best mates, and to go over there with him was,
it would have made the move over there easier.
Experience the culture, experience the different rugby over there, and for him, he'd probably come over, I would say, underrated.
Definitely underrated in my opinion. He had a great career.
You speak to any Warrington fan over there, and he's held in real high regard over there. He played some exceptional footy over there.
You also played with Adrian Morley over there.
Yeah,
he's a machine. What are your thoughts on him as a teammate and as a person?
Probably the funniest bloke I've ever met.
I was actually about to ask who's the funniest teammate, because that's a question from Dave's Eagles Nest.
Yeah, that'd be Adrian Morley. I was just texting him the other day, actually.
Yeah, I interviewed him a few weeks ago. He's fucking cracker bloke.
Yeah,
so
he is. We still text each other. We've got some inside jokes about some ex-coaches we've had, and some nights out we've had. So, we text him pretty regularly. And champion fella, unbelievable player, but he sort of summed up what our time in England was about. Really good people, some good footy, and really hard workers. And we sort of, to have Hicksy when he left, that gave the opportunity for Joel to come over. We sort of replaced one exceptional winger with
another exceptional winger.
So and Joel played some.
He played some of his best footy over there.
He scored, I think it was ridiculous record, 161 tries in 160 games.
Something crazy. Which is amazing,
crazy like that, and was
he was top form over there.
Yeah, he was, and he played for Australia over here in the World Cup.
Played in New South Wales, all that.
And people probably forget how good he was.
He was amazing.
Yeah, and probably, like I said, circumstances
probably dictated his reputation.
But
unfortunately,
I'm not even sure if, in terms of the footy. He loved it over there.
When it was on, he was on.
And you look at league a bit at the moment, it's pretty much your wingers have almost become front rowers.
They really have,
Yeah, they're front rowers who can
bloody Mika Sivo,
who've got an ability to finish in a corner where, over in England there's a lot more shifting of the ball, there's a lot more open space.
Oh, there is, yeah.
And
it's always been a faster paced game. Like, that's I personally believe Super League is a little bit behind the NRL when it comes to certain things, but when it comes to pace of the game and the stop starting and stuff, it's a lot quicker for Super League.
Super League is, you look now, it has probably, the standards dropped significantly in the last few years. And
I switched to Super League watching it over the last few years until this year because it was much faster paced. You'd be getting 70 minutes of footy, whereas the NRL until the 6 again.
And that was it. And there wasn't a premium on wrestling over there.
No, there wasn't.
We did a little bit of wrestling in training, but not much. And that it was just a mentality over there to play footy. And we had myself at hooker, Brett Hodgson at fullback, Lee Breers, who was an outstanding, probably one of the best ball players I've seen in rugby league.
Yep.
Over there, all in the one team. We had a coach that promoted playing attack and footy.
1 second. Go for it.
Yeah, so we had a coach that was really high on playing attack and footy, and generally the competition was like that. And so for an outside back like Joel, to get that space and
once he has that space, mate, he's
shift
gone.
him from sideline to sideline, and it probably prolonged his career, and he probably enjoyed his footy more over there.
Yeah.
There was obviously at the time when we were playing over there, I'd say a little bit of a difference in the standard. That's probably increased recently, and you look at that, you've got, if you put the Burgesses, you put Bateman, Whitehead, Hodgson,
Widdop,
all these guys back in Super League, all of a sudden that competition looks a lot better.
100%, because they've had the experience.
That's happened over the last probably 3 or 4 years. Teams have realised that England's, there's a
talent pool
over there.
Yeah,
there is.
Like Ricky's really capitalised on that for the Raiders.
And teams you look at now, there's even some young kids have signed out here from academies.
Like Herbie Farnworth from England plays for the Broncos.
Yeah, I think Newcastle have signed a young kid from Wiggins Academy, and teams now realise that there's a lot of talent there, and it's a real opportunity because they come cheap. You don't have to pay them a whole heap, and you can work with them, and
they're coachable.
They are really coachable. Joel enjoyed it over there. He loved it, and some of the best years of career. And to win a Challenge Cup with him, and
that would have been amazing to win it with your brother.
Yeah, and Mum and Dad had flown over for it, so.
That would have been even more amazing.
Exactly. So, we had, at that stage when Joel came over, then had Trent Waterhouse come over.
I spoke to Trent a few weeks ago. He's a top bloke.
He is, yeah. So
he loved his time at Warrington.
Oh, mate, we were just texting about it yesterday. We still got a group chat from some of those boys, from Warrington. So, and he was one of the great blokes.
I was going to pause it. All good? Yep.
Yeah, so we had a really good crew over there, and playing Challenge Cups and Grand Finals, and and that's probably the thing you remember the most is not so much winning the game, is
the teammates
after, and I can tell you everything about the night after, where we went, what we did. I can't tell you much about the games, the cups I won, but I can tell you the.
You can definitely remember the parties after.
Yeah, I remember, and that's part of probably the best thing about this footy really is.
Being there for the highs. Unfortunate there for the lows, but the highs.
Even for the disappointments, you've got to make sure you go over beer and. Win or lose, that's the environment you want to be in as a footy player, is around all your mates, and it's probably what blokes struggle with post-retirement. Yeah. Unless you get into footy.
I was going to say, how did you handle going into retirement?
Well, that was because I was able to go straight into a coaching job.
It made it easier for you?
I thought I was really going to struggle because, like I said, my dedication to the game was,
next level.
I thought about the game all week. I mean, some of my superstitions.
You ate
bordering on crazy.
I was going to say, let's go into that. Some of your pre-game superstitions. What were they?
I had to get up at the same time.
Was there an alarm for it, or did you eventually wake up?
Certain undies I'd have the same meal.
What meal was it?
Drive the same way. Depending, we lived in different apartments when we were in the UK. So one stage there was a place up at a place called Stockton Heath where we used to go have the same pasta every night.
Okay. Like pre-game.
It used to drive me nuts because. We'd go in, me and Joel would.
Did you have to go in at a certain time as
well? Same time every week.
Okay.
And we knew them up there, so they looked after us, always try and give us the same table. But so we'd go in and we'd eat the same pasta and we'd win. And the next week we'd go up and I'd order the same pasta and Joel would order something different.
And you'd lose?
And it used to do me head in. I'd say to him, "Oh, you eat pasta? We won last week." And he was just like, beat it. Like, serious? So I had things you wouldn't believe.
Okay, what were your superstitions when you were over in Australia playing?
In Australia, I used to have the same. We'd always do captain's run at Bookie Oval, and then I'd go have, there's a noodle place up the road. I'd have a bottle of Pepsi. I'd have some dumplings and the same noodle dish, Malaysian satay noodles. I still remember it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you would.
And I'd always have a Twix for dessert.
Okay.
And then when I moved back, so I came back. I'd been gone 12 years. I moved back to Manly 2 years ago. And first thing I do, I'll go see the noodle joint. It's gone. So,
shit.
Yeah. So.
And speaking of being back in Manly, what's it like being back in a coaching sort of capacity? And also, is there people, the fans of Manly are like interested to find out if you'll be in the assistant coaching roles next year? What are your thoughts on that? Do you know anything from that?
Yeah, so it was when I decided, obviously my wife's English, so I'd coached a bit. I'd coached 3 years in Catalan and then did a year in England at Wakefield, and just had my missus, I sort of wasn't sure about it getting here, but her company was going bust. Yep. I sort of tossed out to her. I said, "Well, I'm going to go back to Australia," and I thought I was going to get a big no. But
she was like, "Yeah, let's go."
She said, "Yeah." So we sort of made the move out, and just got lucky. I didn't have a job coming back. I'd sort of, before we flew out, I rang Des, tracked his number down, and just said, "Look, I'm heading back. Wouldn't mind coming out and have a chat about coaching."
Yeah, in some capacity. Yeah.
He just sort of said, "Oh, look, come back and do some kicking and catching," and one day
like
a week, specialty stuff. And I went, "Oh, okay." So I sort of come back and thought, "All right, well, I'll do that, and then I'll try and get doing something else." And so Des said, "Well, come and see you when you get back." And I went in, and he basically said, "Oh, I've got a full-time job for you." And
sweet.
Working with the back five, kicking, catching, and what was the pathways at the stage, which was working with the young kids. And
the academy sort of kids equivalent.
And probably about 2 months in, I was doing so much with first grade. We sort of couldn't go with the pathways, and basically just been working with first grade ever since. So.
And are you hoping to get an assistant type
role
next year?
I'm assistant next year. So
oh, sweet, so it's confirmed.
Yeah, so it doesn't really change what I've been doing. It's,
no,
but it's I guess an official title.
Yeah, official.
So we look after, myself and Chad do the attack, and then sort of obviously help out with the defence, and I do a bit with the kickers and the catches,
and the halves a bit,
so we've got a really good coaching crew there. We had Cardi, who's unfortunately leaving now, but off to the Broncos. And, myself, Chad, and analyst Mick Cool, and we've got a pretty good crew there.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on how Manly's year went, minus the injuries, because injuries can't really help a season.
No.
But what are your thoughts on that and the hopes for next year?
Oh, it's obviously disappointing. It's.
I mean, I go for the Broncos.
Yeah, so
and
it is, and obviously injuries did play their part, but we weren't good enough in some other areas, and definitely some areas we need to get better. But I think most people have found it's been an odd year, and
it has. It's been a COVID year as well.
COVID year, and you look, a fullback played I think 5 games, 5'8" played half a dozen games, if that. We lost our starting hooker for the whole season. Yeah,
and then you lost, Joel Thompson for a bit,
And again, it's not an excuse, but
no, it's not. But it definitely doesn't help,
especially in a year where pre-season
where
was
you need health
disrupted, and you've kind of needed health. And you look at someone like Penrith.
They've only had like 1 or 2 injuries the whole season.
Really no long-term injuries, and but you look at a team like Canberra, they've had some injuries and
look at them. They're into the prelims.
So we need to be better. But I think if you look at Desi's record, it's not often he has down years.
Oh, it's been. I spoke to Donny Singe a few weeks ago. He's been there since I think 04, 05, something like that, and it's his 4th year that he's not made finals with Manly.
We were looking at
that's a good record
the other day, and his list of grand final, semi-final, final.
Yeah, like it's like I think the 4th time Des has never made it as coach.
Yeah, so
which is amazing.
So I'd expect obviously a bounce back, but we've got some work to do, and but I know we're looking forward to it. And last year will sting a lot of the players, and I know it's stung the coaching staff. So there'll be some motivation there to get back, especially after the year before where we probably had a similar amount of injuries the year before.
And
still, were unlucky against South in that.
I'd say got into the finals.
Yeah, and beat Cronulla, and we were under strength. We were missing a whole heap of talent, and then we're 10 minutes to go. We're leading South, and a couple of controversial calls.
Yep.
So quite easily we could have been one game away from the grand final.
Easily, yeah. And speaking of one game away, we're into the prelims this weekend coming up. Who are your tips for the games? Penrith versus Rabbitohs, and it's Raiders versus Storm.
I think Canberra. It all depends with Melbourne whether Munster plays.
And I just. Raiders have had the edge over the Storm the last year and a half. They've only lost one out of the 4 games they've played against them.
And they're saying the Roosters, they were arguably the better against the Roosters. The Rays were arguably the better team in the grand final. Beat them earlier this year under strength and then knocked them off. So Canberra have a habit of when they've got someone, and it's the style of footy they play. They're very direct. They don't complicate things very much.
They play it easy, simple, run the ball.
It is,
footy.
and you have a look. I think this year they threw 600 less passes than us.
Yeah.
And were really effective. So it's they've got a style of play that works, and it's a style of play that if an opposition struggles with it, it's really hard to adjust to it. So,
I don't know. I think it's up at Suncorp, so that could also be a factor. But I'm tipping the Raiders, and I'm also tipping Penrith. As much as I want the Rabbitohs to get there, because they're a dark horses these finals. But I reckon Penrith will be too strong.
I'd like to see Penrith win. I think they deserve.
Wouldn't it be great to see a Penrith Raiders grand final again?
Yeah, back to the 90s. So.
It's been 30 years since the 1990 grand final. Maybe history is repeating itself.
It will. But the one thing is Melbourne more than any other team will come prepared.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Again, the big X factor is whether Munster plays. You've got Cameron Smith there, who's arguably the greatest player who's played. And Munster's one of the best players in the competition at the moment.
He's one of the best up and comers.
Yeah, and if he's firing, he is a difference maker. But the battle between him and Whiten. So whichever
was on
one,
fire last week.
Whichever one plays,
whoever wants
better,
it more. Let's be honest. Yeah.
And if Munster plays, but he's not quite at his best, and Whiten is, then probably gives the advantage to Canberra. But like I said, with Melbourne, they're always prepared, and they'll be ready.
They're the most experieesed team of this finals series.
And South are probably the other one. It's Penrith have been consistent all year.
But South, also don't underestimate.
South have been inconsistent. It wasn't long ago that South lost to the Bulldogs, and people were questioning whether they were even a playoff team.
Yeah, now they're in the prelim.
So with South, they're in some good form, but there's obviously that inconsistency they've had during the year.
Exactly.
But it's a one-game shootout, so consistencies.
When it comes to these types of finals, the prelims and the grand final in particular, it doesn't matter the consistency or the form. It's literally there's one team that's better on the day.
You look at Melbourne. Melbourne have been, the most consistent team every year, pretty much for the last 10 years. Probably haven't won as many grand finals
as they should have.
There's been a few minor premierships, but they haven't even made the grand final. I think.
Yeah. I spoke to Beaver.
Consistency in a one game. Once you get to the playoffs, that consistency is not as important. And South's that type of team on the other side that if Penrith have been consistent, but if South play that game where they're really hard to handle, then
exactly. Like I spoke to Beaver, he said he played in the 95, 96, 97 and the 07, 08 grand finals, only winning 2 of those. And he said you can have the best form all year, but when it comes down to the grand final day, one team's going to win.
And sometimes it is just like those Melbourne teams that were super consistent and just couldn't quite get over the hump. Sometimes it's just having those plays that are a little bit different, which is now they've got that Munster. South have Cody Walker.
Adam Reynolds.
If he was there. And sometimes that trumps consistency, and especially in a one-game playoff. If it was a 3-game series like the NBA or baseball,
it'd be a bit different.
You'd go, okay, I'll back Penrith, but in a one-game
like the first game, you could rest your players if you needed.
One-game scenario, it's sometimes those players that are a bit out of the box, Cody Walker, those type of players. And whilst Penrith have that really consistent grind-out team, you probably look, they don't have that one
standout
bloke that can do something.
That can do everything. They don't have that Tedesco. They don't have.
But over a long season, that's a bonus. Possibly in playoffs, that can hurt you. But I think I'd still take Penrith.
Well, I honestly hope it's a Penrith Raiders grand final, because that'd be
nice.
Personally, I reckon you'd love it because Raiders. But at the
I've
same
got a little bit of. Whilst I'd like to see Penrith win, I might change the area.
Go for it.
John Cartwright's young fella plays for South. So,
he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
So actually, I'll change that. I want South to win.
Okay,
so,
fair.
Yeah, I think Penrith will, but I'd like to see South win. Just so Cardi
So
sees,
realistically, Penrith, but hopefully,
yeah. See his young boat playing a grand final. Which
that'd be great.
Which would be great for him. So
yeah, for sure. And I guess that about wraps it up. One last bit is: do you have any advice for any youngsters who'd love to make it in, the first grade big league one day?
Yeah, like I said before, it's just being committed to what you're trying to achieve. It's being prepared to work hard at what you do, and that's the biggest thing. Whether it's rugby league, basketball, baseball, there's the blokes that have longevity and are the greats. It's their attention to detail, it's their consistency, and every sport has those players that bubble up and look like they're going to be superstars but it's their consistency to the small things where they end up having these short careers, and that's what I think it is. It's just having that consistency to your preparation, your detail, to even just to your enthusiasm for the game.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see even like Cameron Smith now is into his
400s.
Game.
Yeah,
you can he still has that enthusiasm for the game and the contest and for.
Well, by the end of he's done 18 seasons.
Yeah,
something like that. You've got to have the fitness, but also you got to still love what you do.
100%. That's that. Coming out consistent for the enthusiasm of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And that wraps that up. So thank you very much for joining us here.